right. All right. What's going on? No, I don't work at Firestone right now. I haven't worked there in a while. So let's get down to business. Shooting from the hip. I had a guy comment saying I should call these videos a podcast and call them the Shooting from the Hip podcast, because everything I say always comes from the hip. I don't plan these or write things down. I just talk about exactly what is on my mind. Another guy also said I need to stop saying fuck. So shit ass bitch titch at ass fuck retard bitch. Hopefully the YouTube algorithm picks up on that and makes it stop upping my videos, even though all my analytics are up and yet the views are down. Yeah, I don't think that. I think the flat rate mechanic system is a bunch of bullshit. And the reason why, number one, biggest one of them all, in my opinion, is that it's so easily manipulated. I feel like when you're hourly and you just have to do your job, it's like, well, I'm hourly. I can take my time. I can, do the work I need to do at the rate I need to do the work. And if the boss yells at me, it's like, you know what? So fucking be it. I'm hourly. I get paid whether I do this or not. So I'm just going to do it right. You could do it wrong when you're hourly if you don't feel like it. But it's hard to manipulate it because it's not the thing that makes you money. It's just the structure on how your pay scale works. Like being at your job is what makes you money. And if you don't do work, it's like almost like if you're just bored, it's like, well, I'm bored. I might as well do work. And it's like, that's the benefits of it. It's because you're hourly and you can take your time and do whatever you want, kind of. When you're flat rate, it incentivizes cheating. And the ironic part about that is that all of these automotive dealerships and companies and businesses would all be shut down if it wasn't for cheating. The thing that keeps the doors open isn't changing engines because of the warranties of cars and trucks blowing up every 5 seconds. It's not doing airbags. It's not doing your warranty. It's not doing your free oil changes that you get with the coupon when you buy your new car. It's not tire rotations. It's good old-fashioned robbery. If everyone's car needed... I remember I was working on a guy's car the other day, and he needed like $1,000 worth of work, and he only needed an oil change, and then somehow that turned into $1,000. So yeah, it's just how it is too, and there's nothing really you can do about it. The only thing the mechanic can do is play the game. You have to play along, and you have to make your money and just try and be as honest as possible. You will get jobs from service advisors that are going to make you do things you don't want to do. And it's just kind of like, yeah, kind of going to have to suck it up, because that's pretty much the only thing you're going to do. Unless you find a reputable shop in the area I'm from, it's pretty rare. So, skip around every couple of years so you can get your $2 increase in your pay to match inflation. And if you land in a good shop, stay there, and I hope that works out for you. But in the reality of it, when you do your fluid flushes and stuff like that, it's like, yeah, do cars need it? It's like, yeah. But the reality is, it's like, as it turns out, a lot of customers don't exactly have the money. So when we're telling them, it's like, no, you need to get this done, it kind of puts a fear factor on them. And you can say that, well, if the customer isn't smart enough to pick up on that, it's like, well, they're at fault. It's like, yeah, no, yes and no. It's a combination of faults. It's like, is the customer an actual retard and doesn't understand that they're being robbed because they don't understand how the mechanicals of their car work? Yeah. But, it doesn't mean that the person, stealing the money is exactly any better just because they're gullible enough to fall for it. So there's a lot of faults here at play. The best thing I do when I meet honest customers is I tell them, saying that you need to be more careful, because I don't think obviously you can't change where you work. I mean, you can, but like I'm talking about on the level of when you work there, it's not like you're going to be able to change the people around you to cater to your own needs, and that's just a ridiculous statement altogether. You wish you could have some camaraderie to where you could be on the same level playing field, but I think people do that in weird ways. So I don't know. I guess just everybody's different in that aspect. But if you can get a chance to ever communicate with the customer, always try and explain to them to kind of wisen up to the fact of, maybe learn a couple things about your car and give them a few pointers on what to look out for, because they just don't know. And that's kind of a big reason why I try and make these videos, because I wish that people who aren't people who work on cars or service advisors, I don't know, I get a lot of people from the automotive field messaging me, but I think decent amount size of people who aren't interested in working in the field or anything like that, and just watch the videos to watch them, to understand them. Wisen up a little bit. Not that you're dumb, but in the sense of like, learn your stuff about your car so it stops you from getting robbed. It's like, do you go to the supermarket and like just look at the fruit, and because it's the fruit that's on the shelf, you automatically assume that it's good, so you buy it and you take it home with you, and then you realize it's rotten and you got screwed? It's like, no. It's like, you do your due diligence, you look at it, you check it out. It's like that. Apply that to whenever you're buying something. Just assuming that it's on a store shelf, or you're going to a mechanic, and the mechanic and the service advisors are the only people on the planet that know what your car need. Don't assume that they're always going to be right. I think people need to have a little bit of higher levels of skepticism when they're going to places, and they need to be smarter with the choices that they make, because at the end of the day, it's your money. And if you feel like throwing it out the door for things you don't need, that's completely fine. You can do that. But what I'm saying is that there will be consequences for that. And the consequence is no money and everything that comes with that. It incentivizes cheating. And it's kind of it's what keeps the lights on, unfortunately. You can do it legit. You just have to work a lot harder. And a big problem with that is I'll give you an example. I used to work at a Firestone, and I was in control of my own hours. I didn't have a team system based flat rate. My hours were not scaled based on an average of all the people who are on my team making money. So I was making my own hours. It incentivized me to work harder, because I knew that the money that I was earning in my hourly rate was based on how hard I worked, and it made me work harder. When you're on a team system and you have a flat hourly rate, and it is getting ranked based on a percentage, and that's how you get your paycheck, it doesn't it could, if you're good with your team, then great. I hope that works out for you, and I hope that you make a lot of money with them. But with a lot of team-based systems, I don't think they work out very well in my experience. I'm not speaking on everyone. I'm speaking on my own, because it doesn't incentivize me to want to work harder. If someone on my team is making 20 hours a week and I'm making 60, 70, and my averages are getting brought down, which means that I'm going to get paid for less than 70 hours, even though I put 70 hours in of work, that's not fair. I think that's complete bullshit. So just only work the amount of hours you're going to get paid. If nobody on your team is making that many hours because whatever, they're slow, they don't feel like it, and they're already checked out and ready for retirement, then just don't bother. Make your money, go home. Don't put that much effort into it, because it's not putting that much effort into you, and just take your money. There's no reason. And there's a way to do this without obviously getting in trouble and just not working at all. Just be smarter with your recommendations on what you recommend a car needs, and just kind of work at your own pace, and keep it cool and casual. Don't overextend yourself with work, but just do enough to where everyone's kind of happy. There's no need to overreach or overextend yourself. And this is the reality of it too. Another reason why I don't like the flat rate pay system is that all the times are just wrong based on, what a car may need or not. Another reason on why it's incentivizing cheating is because all the easier jobs over the course of time pay more with the amount of hours that and time that you're given to do said job than a one-time big job that have a bunch of little nuances and things that need to be solved in order to do that job. So it's like you can get 10 hours for doing some kind of transmission job or like a trans or a diff job or something, and it's going to take you longer than that because, I don't know, you could be waiting on parts. You could need to change out a bunch of other things too at the same time, and all that time of taking other things apart is incorporated in the time it takes to do that job. So like say you're doing some kind of a trans axle unit or whatever, and it's like, well, you have to remove said transmission, and it's like it's not taking into account labor times of, say, removal of a transmission and everything that comes with that. Or say the motor's seized and you can't get to torque converter bolts, and now you're just spending even more time trying to rip the bottom end apart to get the crank to spin in order to just get it off. Like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, it doesn't take into time for that. And hopefully you have a place that will give you time overhead or under the table or whatever you want to call it to kind of make up for that. But as it turns out, a lot of places won't do it. So what you got to do is, do you want to be the reputable mechanic and do it slow and the right way and not get paid for it? Or do you want to be the guy that just slaps it together, hope it works, and you get it done faster than you should have? Try and be somewhere in the middle in a circumstance like that. You can only be as honest as you can, and your team is only as strong as its weakest link, and that goes to your company that you're working for too. So you're just part of the chain, and you just have to be strong enough, but not the strongest. You know what I mean? Another problem with being on flat rate is that when people rush you, it might feel a little more off. When you're hourly, at least in my opinion, when I was hourly a long time ago and I'd be getting rushed to get things done, it wouldn't bother me as much because I was just hourly, and it's that job didn't pay me for what I was doing, so I just took my time regardless, and it didn't really matter as much to me what people said. It doesn't really matter as much what people say to me now. I had to learn that as time went on, but before, when I kind of started this deal and a little bit into it too, especially when you're changing jobs, you got to kind of get a feel for the people around you. When you sell a 4-wheel brake job and all these fluids and nonsense like that, all that fish oil, snake oil stuff that is being sold in a car before it's needed, and it's like, all right, can you get that done before 10? And it's like 8:30. It's like, yeah, sure. Let me do this 7-hour job in an hour and a half. It's like, it's just like, me and you both know that this is wrong, and you're telling me with a straight face like how it needs to get done, and it's just like, yeah, and I know that has nothing to actually do with the flat rate system itself. It's more or less just a representation of the people that you have to work with, but it kind of revolves around the flat rate system because it's like, it's your time making money, and if you're wasting time like arguing about the politics of the intricacies of flat rate and how it operates with people like service advisors or your boss or whatever to say that this job isn't worth it, it's like we're just wasting more and more time. We're not getting anything done, and it just doesn't. You essentially, flat rate is a game. You have to play flat rate. If you're great with video games, flat rate will work well for you because you just play flat rate like a game. It's a numbers game, and you can kind of have fun with it if you learn about the car that it is you're working on, and you can actually, figure out a way how to get around the system and kind of make everybody happy, and you go home with your pay. So, I mean, that's kind of like 95% of it. Being on flat rate and not being on a team is good, but you have to be sure that the shop or dealership or whatever you're working for doesn't just give you jobs that are completely meaningless. So a lot of people get confused nowadays, especially the older generation of mechanics. They don't seem to understand, not all of them, just some of them. They don't seem to understand that in this industry, the more you know, the less money you make. And that doesn't mean anything when you have your own business or your own company or you're your own mechanic, because the more you know and you have your own stuff, that's phenomenal. Like, good for you. But if you work at a dealership, the more you know, it's not going to affect your paycheck. It might affect your hourly rate, but you're going to be doing jobs that are warranted and nonsense. You get paid half for it, or you get paid nothing for it. So it's really just a complete waste of time to get all, in my opinion, it's a waste of time to get all these certifications and stuff like that. Do you have to do them? Sometimes. You can get away with not doing it. Ask me how I know. I think ASEs, see, I get all these fucking stupid numbers on my phone. That's the problem recording on my phone. ASEs, I think ASEs are universally good. I don't think that, like, here's the thing. There's nothing fundamentally wrong with being certified, but if it doesn't bring any type of value, or this isn't the direction that you plan on doing forever, especially nowadays with being a mechanic, since the turnover rate is like 75%, which is like insane. And the older generation is like wondering why this is happening, and they yet to look in the mirror on why this is happening. It really tells, you know. And I think all these systems in place, you know, they have a lot to do with it based on how the cars are made today. So essentially, the more you know and the more airbag modules you have to replace, the less money you make. And that's just the way it is, because why would you do that when you can do brake jobs all day and oil change, tire rotation, alignment checks, and all this state inspections, and that's 3 hours right there, you know what I mean? You're essentially a quarter of your day is done and you did it and took you half hour. So it's like, yeah, why does anybody care? I don't know. I mean, they want to, if you want to do a good service to the customer, it's like, personally, I think all these modern day cars are bullshit. The problem, you know what the big problem is I'm in the wrong industry. If I was a kiss ass and was like a sucker for an industry like this, I would have been like, oh, you need to join this industry. You know, it's not that bad. It's the future. It's exactly what we need. But that's just not me. So I'm probably not going to be in this industry for the rest of my life. I don't plan on doing it. I probably for myself, maybe, but I could care less. I mean, unless the industry changes, I don't like the direction that it's going, because it's getting to the point where, you know, you really got to get some, it's getting to the point where if you can't work, like, startup businesses are going to start failing. Like, say you're a mobile mechanic or something like that, you're only going to be able to do like brake jobs and fluids and stuff. Like, yeah, you could probably do an engine, but there's going to be so many intricacies with computers and airbag shit and stuff like that mobile mechanics are going to get pushed out. Like, a lot of people are going to get pushed out in the future, like family-owned companies and stuff like that. So I don't know. I mean, it's something I do want to do. If the industry changes, I'm kind of waiting out for it. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But yeah, like, based on the pay scale, it's just, you know, flat rate. The more you know, the less you make on a flat rate system. That's just how it is, you know, because if you're the guy that knows everything, you know, when someone comes into your shop with a blown up engine and, you know, it's the crank, a bearing spun because it ran out of oil, like a Hyundai, and then you got to take the torque converter bolts out somehow. It's like, yeah, like, you know, you're going to get that job and you're going to go home at the end of the week with 35 hours, and you've been there for 50, so, or 45 to 50. That's a fucking spider. Hang on, I gotta kill it. Sorry, little guy. You're going down, pal. Now I gotta do this without getting his bodily juices all over the wall. That's why I got a little napkin here. Oh, come here, you fucking bitch. Wow, dude, that thing is fast. Holy crap. I don't want to squeeze it because I don't want to get its juice everywhere. I'm the kind of guy that can go on a racetrack at 150 miles an hour and swim in a tank of sharks. And yet spiders are just fucking my enemy. Where the fuck was I? The shop or the dealership you work at should pay you as much time as you need as a flat rate to get the job done. Obviously, it's and the reason why is because I think that if the owner of said company or the business isn't like, because that can get manipulated too. But say you do a job and it takes 35 hours to do and you're there for 50 and you only get the 35 hours at the end of the week because maybe there was a problem or something like that that needed to be solved beforehand, which happens super often. You should get your full 50 at least for your time for being there at the end of the week. And that can get manipulated because it can make you drag jobs on and just get paid at the end of the week regardless, kind of like hourly. But that is up to the management level to be able to see that. And if you're on a type of management level and you don't see that happening and you're blind to it, you're probably a bad manager and shouldn't be in that job anyway. Which happens more often than not. Another thing is if you're on a team-based system, the person who makes the highest amount of hours should come home with that paycheck that they made with that amount of hours. Unfortunately, they don't. They get less. There should be no reason for that. The amount of hours that you make, say you make 100 hours and it gets averaged down because everyone on your team made 30, you should get your 100 hours and it should just average everybody on your team to help them out. The whole reason why the team system was designed, especially for dealerships, is to compensate for things like if they're doing an engine or, bullshit jobs, warranty nonsense. It's to help them bring their averages up to help them out. But it shouldn't be at a negative effect to the person who makes the highest amount of hours either. You should make that pay and you should come home with it. So it essentially actually, where I'm at, it works on a scale. You have to hit over a percentage margin and then you get this amount of pay. But I don't think it should work like that. It's like, these are the hours you make. These are the hours you get paid. So say you just missed the margin by like 2% and that's like 20 hours out of your paycheck. So it's like, no, why would you work hard? That's what you got to do. And unfortunately, you got to play the game. A lot of the times you have to job hop, like 90% of the time. You have to job hop finding the next best place when they don't want to give you a $2 pay raise to compensate for the lack of money you're getting on your flat rate system. And all you got to do is go to the next job and say, I make 26 at this job, even though you made 25. And they'll go, I'll give you 27. And you go, thanks. And then you do that every 2 or 3 years, and then you make your money. And that's unfortunately the only way that we can do it in today's world. And that's just it, man. Working flat rate means that you're a slave to the grind. The best thing I can say is, live below your means, because if you're working flat rate and your pay is like a wave, looking like a stock market graph, then you need to just be careful. I worked at a Firestone and they guaranteed a 30-hour paycheck if you were there for 40 hours, which never really made any sense to me, because say it was a slow week, like really slow, and you're there for longer than that, which you usually are. It never made sense because we were scheduled 5 days a week, or usually there for 50 hours a week. So I don't understand why this system was even in place. If you were there for 40 hours, you get a 30-hour guarantee, which doesn't make any sense, because even if you were working slowly and you're there for 50 hours, you could still probably clock 30 hours. So I never, that like I could understand if that worked during COVID and nobody showed up and you got 0 hours for the week, you were there for 50 and got paid for 30. Even though you need to be there for 40 to get paid for 30. But if a week is just slow and you're there for 40 to 50 hours and you're getting paid 30, chances are you're clocking 30 hours anyway. So I just never understood that system. It never made any sense to me. It only would make sense as if you weren't doing any work at all. You know, like that would, yeah. which is rare, which only happened during COVID. And even during COVID, people were still doing that. So I don't know. I never understood that. A lot of another thing that with flat rate that I just completely disagree with, a lot of the times in different places, in different shops you work at, they're all different. I remember at Firestone, 4 tires was 0.4. And an alignment check was 0.6. And you did 4 tires in alignment on, doesn't matter what the fuck it is. It could be a fucking dually. It could be a lifted truck with 22s with thin off-road tires on it, and you're getting paid 0.4. And you're getting paid a 0.6 to do an alignment check. That's retarded. Some places offer you an hour for 4 tires and then an hour for an alignment. So you're doing 2 hours, which is great. But if you're doing it on a car that's complete nonsense, it's just complete nonsense. Sometimes it's not worth it. So there's no reason why you should do it to hurt yourself or because someone's on a time crunch. That's another thing about flat rate, is that when people are on time crunches, it's like, you want me to work faster to get it done? It's like, listen, I'm trying to get this done as fast as possible for you, but I still need to do it in a reasonable amount of time. Like, just because it's flat rate and I know how to work the clock doesn't mean that I'm just going to magically fix the car or get it done in the time. Like, there are people that honestly believe that doing 4 tires on a Corolla and 4 tires on a truck take the same amount of time. And the truck has off-road tires and the Corolla has like 195, 65, 15s on it. And they think that they're, 245, 40, 23s are gonna, like, you know what I mean? Like, are just as easy. No, it doesn't work like that. You should get paid a rate. Like 0.4 should be on, like, there should be a scale. And this is the scale that should be used. Anything that revolves around trailer tires, like little things like that, and not on a trailer, by the way, drop-offs, 0.5. Once you get into the 195 range, 185, 195 sidewall, 1 hour. You're doing anything over that, hour and a half, 2 hours. You're doing anything over, like, low, really low pro, like on, say, a luxury car or something crazy like an off-road, you're doing 3 hours, pal. And that's just for tires, and that's not for an alignment. Like, the pay scale for things like that shouldn't be the same. Also, things like warranty, it should definitely come out of dealerships' asses for overhead stuff. Like, just because I have to do it for half the amount of time doesn't mean it takes half the amount of time. I need to get paid for the full job, and you guys pay for me and for the fuck up. I mean, you have the name of the logo on your car on the building, right? So that's your guys' problem, If that's the brand you wanted to associate yourself with, you have to deal with everything that the dealer puts out on the lot. That's your fault. That's not my fault for being your mechanic. I shouldn't have to take the hit in my paycheck because of the negligence of people above me. That's just not my problem. And if you want it to be my problem, I'm not going to work as hard for you. And you don't have to. Because, it's just a game. And we're all just trying to play this game. And it's the same old story. Everybody knows. Your boss knows. Your coworkers know. It's a fucking game. What are you going to do? Fix the world? Save the world by trying to solve these minuscule problems? You can try. That's why I make these videos. But it's only going to get you so far. And the reality is just play the game, take your paycheck, and go home. If you feel like I missed anything, just let me know in the comments. If you want me to talk about anything else, just let me know in the comments. Like the video. I usually don't ask, but I think YouTube, well, I don't think, how is it that all of my YouTube video statistics on all of my recent videos are up way more than they have been, and yet the views are just falling on their face? I don't know. So, I don't know. Just like it if you like it. You know what? Fuck that. Do whatever you want to do. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter to me. Do whatever you want. And I'll see you guys in another fucking video. Fuck ass, tit, shitty, butt fuck, anal, ass. There you go, algorithm. Peace out.